You're listening to the Outdoors Group podcast. This podcast is a call to arms to get children and young people outside again. It's your one-stop shop for all things outdoor, child, young person and education related. Thanks for tuning in. I'm so excited about the setting of today's recording. I'm at the Bioasis, which is on a secret location somewhere in the southwest of England, and it is quite simply the most stunning location I think we've ever recorded in. I'm with Adrian Ferraro, and we're here to talk about the Bioasis, who offer immersive residential adventures for young people designed to rewild the next generation and inspire a more sustainable relationship with our planet. I've come to talk about the work they do, the reason why they do it, and how it's been received by the young people they're working with. So thanks for hosting me today, Adrian.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're really welcome. So can you tell us the story so far of Bioasis? How did the concept of it come about, and what's your journey been with it?
Sure. So it was set up in the middle of the pandemic, 2020. I also run an overseas expedition travel company, STC Expeditions, and we specialise in school groups for that. And that's been going since 2006.
Okay, long time.
A long time. And as you might imagine, the pandemic wasn't particularly kind to us, like many travel companies. So we'd had an idea before the pandemic of doing low cost, low carbon adventures in the UK, but we had never really had the chance or the time to try and explore that idea.
Yeah.
And so if there was a silver lining from the pandemic. As a travel company, it was that it gave us the time to look at that. And so the concept for the Bioasis came about by looking at what would it look like if we took an overseas expedition that involved trekking, adventure, volunteer project work, immersive sort of an experience. What would that look like if we did it in the UK?
Yeah.
And we chatted to our clients and got their thoughts and looked at lots of options, and the feedback generally was if we're going to do volunteering, then anything conservation related, wildlife related is positive and good for kids, and stay well clear of anything remotely like Duke of Edinburgh.
Okay. Because there's too much of that already.
Too much of that already.
Okay.
And also, if you're going to do something, then make sure it's different from the classic kind of school residential.
Yeah.
Adventure by numbers, we call it. You do your activity
Climbing
in the morning, climbing in
yeah.
the morning, and another activity in the afternoon, and you have your turkey twizzlers in the evening. And, so we wanted to do something very different, and we started exploring options.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, let's do something. If we're going to do something, let's do it really different.
Yeah.
And let's go full immersion and full immersive experience. So if you look at the Bioasis website, there is nowhere on the website to tell you where the Bioasis is.
Yes.
And
you don't even have like an about us like kind of history thing, which
No.
I love. Like it's just fully immersive from the absolute
So
get-go.
the story of the Bioasis is that the climate change apocalypse has happened. We're now in the year 2074.
Okay.
And the Bioasis is a part of the world where nature has somehow survived the apocalypse, and its secretive location is necessary to prevent the resources being used by industrialists.
Yes.
And young people are sent on missions into the Bioasis to learn about nature, reconnect with nature, learn the skills, learn resilience, and be enthused about nature to then go back out into the real world, and start to rewild outside of the Bioasis as well. And so that's the kind of general premise.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun along the way, coming up with weird and wacky ideas and activities. So I've been with it from the beginning, very much sort of my brainchild, and but helped with a fantastic group of outdoor enthusiasts and leaders along the way. So
amazing.
Yeah.
And so obviously we're not going to disclose our location or
No.
our geography, but can you tell me a bit about, without giving out too much away, about where we're sat and how you kind of found yourselves here?
So we're currently sat on a fire pit, around a fire pit, at one of our base camps, Holby
No
base
fire
camp.
today though.
No fire today, unfortunately.
Too warm.
Yeah, beautiful skies and bird song in the trees. We are working on a 5,000 acre estate that has a triple SI site, and it's in an area of outstanding natural beauty. And we have salt marshes, wildflower meadows, ancient woodland, We have 3 base camps on the estate, each in a very quiet, secluded area, and each very different in that they're sort of very much individually located. It's a wonderful place to explore and reconnect with nature. The biodiversity here is incredible. And just before we started our walk today into the base camp from our storage unit, I was waiting for you in the car park, and a stoat ran across the car park chasing a rabbit.
It's just amazing.
Amazing bird life. It's just a great place to decompress and get away from the stresses of normal world and reconnect young people with nature.
Are there any particularly like rare species around here that live in the woods?
So we part of the what we get the groups to do is do some biodiversity monitoring. So we have bat detectors, small mammal traps. We set up small trail cameras in the woods as well. One of the camps has a resident Reeves pheasant, which is a very spectacular bird and pretty rare in the UK.
Is it like the peacock of the pheasant world?
It is kind of, yes.
Okay.
Lots of raptors around. Regularly see sparrowhawks and buzzards and owls and all sorts.
Amazing. Excellent. So in reality, when a group of young people come here for their residential, what do they get up to? What does that look like?
So
and I know that depends on.
Sure, we've got a number of different missions. The standard sort of entry-level mission is a 5-day, 4-night trip. And they would leave their vehicles at their mission start point and walk into base camp, which, depending on which base camp we're using, is anywhere between sort of 45 minutes and an hour and 10 minutes away from the vehicles.
Are they carrying all their kit?
Some groups do want to carry all their kit, and it was originally designed and sort of envisaged in that realm. Some of the younger kids that we bring in, age sort of 11, 12, they walk in and we deliver carry their kit in on the 4x4s. So for 5 days they leave their vehicles. We have a no mobile phone policy, and they are immersed on the estate for that whole period. So I mentioned biodiversity monitoring, and that's a regular theme throughout the missions. We also get them to do some team building, but all as part of the story. So they will find equipment drops that they will be maybe given a message over the mission radio to go and locate an equipment drop, and that will be a team building challenge of creating catapults to then lob seed bombs into neighbouring fields and such like. We also do canoeing on the estate, on the estuary, and navigation. Things like canoeing for us, it's not just an opportunity to learn how to paddle a canoe. You can do that on a lake, you can do that anywhere you like. For us here, it's trying to build that as part of the process of what we want them to do. So they will canoe up to the sort of highest point on the high tide, and then do water testing.
Amazing.
That then gets put into citizen science projects. So the whole process of the missions, I suppose, is not just learning about outdoor education or activities or biodiversity or identifying trees. It's about putting that in perspective, and so that they can use that sort of in context, I suppose, through cross-curricular learning that they might be doing in school, but also sort of the outdoor side of things as well. And then we also have quite a bit of conservation work that, which mainly covers 2 things. One is removal of invasive rhododendron on the estate, of which there's quite a bit. And so we give them the background as to why that's necessary, and the problems of invasive species, and how removing it then helps local biodiversity, more natural local biodiversity flourish. And also on the estuary we have quite a big problem of plastic in the salt marshes. So we get groups to pull the plastic out, and the young people find that really rewarding.
I was about to say, not only is it rewarding, but I bet it's quite fun being muddy and trying
It's fun and hard work. And we've found all sorts in there, from tyres to TVs to, I think perhaps one of my favourite things that's happened over the last couple of years is I met a group on site here. We were just walking back from the plastic cleanup area in the salt marshes, and these 3 girls were literally covered head to toe in mud, having spent an hour pulling out a double mattress from the salt marsh.
Do you think that's absolutely insane? Like, so weird. How has it ended up there? Yeah.
No idea. And this is, probably 5 or 6 kilometres from the mouth of the river.
Yeah. So is it likely to have come up from the sea or down the river?
We've no idea. Absolutely no idea. But yeah, some of the things we found in there is extraordinary. Normal tennis balls and Barbie dolls and literally all sorts.
Yeah.
We've had some interesting sort of activity happen. We had one group taking out the TV, and they moved the TV, and about a metre long snake came out from inside the TV.
Oh wow!
Which resulted in quite some yelps
squealing,
and squealing from the young people.
What kind of snake was it?
Not entirely sure. I think it's probably just a grass.
Okay.
We see slow worms and snakes, and we do have some reptile mats as well that we put out for the group. So we put them out at the beginning of the week, and then very carefully pull up the corners,
have a look,
and have a look and see what we found.
Amazing. Okay. And it sounds like the activities they're getting involved in are really like purposeful. Like it's not like a token gesture there. Like you were talking about the citizen science from the water testing, like it's real contributing work, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, from my overseas travel background and trying to arrange volunteer projects in other countries and seeing young kids out of their comfort zone, and we've been guilty of it in the past and trying to come up with things, and it can be very tokenistic. And so, when we're working with kids that essentially are unskilled, out of their comfort zone, to do something that they feel like is meaningful or having a real impact, and they can see the benefits there and then and get instant feedback from that. There are actually quite a few things that you can do that have that. And I think for us, we're bit by bit, we are changing this estate and, having a positive impact. But I think for me, the real positive impact is 10, 15, 20 years down the line, when hopefully we'll have changed the viewpoint of a young person or multiple young people.
Yeah, hopefully more than one.
Hopefully more than one. And, they go off and they connect the dots and they look back and think, oh, my time at the Bioasis when I thought about plastic pollution, or when we looked at invasive species, or we looked at biodiversity.
Yeah.
And they are then a water engineer and they are working in sub-Saharan Africa, or they are a conservationist working in, national parks in the UK, whatever it might be. For me, this cross-curricular learning here is about trying to inspire and spark something in them that goes on much beyond what we can do
5 days
here.
Yeah. And that kind of that immersive kind of setting missions thing, that lasts the whole time, like they're kind of in that immersive world for the whole week.
Yeah, certainly for the 5-day mission, Bioasis 5, which generally works for sort of age groups of 11 to 14, 15.
Yeah.
We have a Bioasis scientific mission, which I'm sure we can come on and talk the details of, but that tends to be a little bit less on the mission side of things.
Okay.
And we also have a 10-day Bioasis Extreme, where groups, that is a little bit more immersive, and groups get mission documents to meet agents and in the middle of wilderness areas and take train travel across the UK and but the immersive side of things helps with radios. We use push-to-talk radios on site, and so groups will get messages from mission control, or they will find messages around the estate that will lead them on to the next part of the mission.
Yeah. And I mean, we spoke on the way down about it, but that kind of element of it being fun and playful, because it doesn't have to be boring, does it, to learn about these things? And
absolutely,
like teenagers often don't have the opportunity to be playful and be silly and stuff. So so I think I was asking you if they play along or whether they're a bit rolly eyes about it, but you said that it's a bit of both.
Bit of both, yeah. I think the sweet spot for us is probably age 12.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely innocence at that age still, whereas once you get to 14, 15, they're beginning to lose that. But certainly at age 12, we've had students come to us and say, are there really industrialists around? Do we really need to be careful about the industrialists? So I agree. Having fun, is incredibly important. We learn more when we're having fun, and we don't realise we're learning.
No.
And so for me, with my day-to-day work, and as a team at the Bioasis, having fun is a really important part.
Really
of that.
Part of it, and giving those kids the opportunity to combine being purposeful and being playful. It's great, isn't it? What a lovely combination.
Yeah, and I think inspiring imagination. If we're going to tackle some of these big challenges of our time, we have to be imaginative about it. And I think the really exciting thing for me about the Bioasis, is the education. I think, myself, I've had a huge amount of out of travel adventure, being in wild places, builds resilience and all the wonderful things that we know about. But actually from looking at a business perspective and being imaginative in business, we can't, if we're going to solve these challenges of biodiversity loss and nature disconnection and, climate crisis, we have to, as an economy and as businesses, we have to be having a positive impact. We can't have, and the Bioasis is a for-profit. We can't have a situation in the economy where the for-profit sector is disregarding nature and having a negative impact, and it's the government and not-for-profit that's sort of mopping up behind them, if you like. We have to have a situation where positive, for-profit making companies are having a positive impact on the environment. And for me, that's what's really exciting about the Bioasis is, we're doing that. We're encouraging landowners to change their land usage to wildflower meadows and essentially ecotourism, whilst also educating, whilst employing local people, whilst having a positive impact on the biodiversity. And hopefully longer term, having a positive impact outside as well. So
those ripples, just in every direction, aren't they?
Absolutely.
There? So,
it's very much a win-win-win.
Win-win-win for everyone. It does sound like it. So obviously we've talked quite a lot about climate change emergency, and that's obviously at the heart. That is basically the heart of your work here. So it'd be great to talk about your experience of working with young people in this context. We all know that climate anxiety is really high in young people. How do you kind of see that in your work, and how does it change during their time with you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is, whether it's spoken or not, young people are, climate anxious, definitely. I have two boys. They're, late teens and early 20s now. But, I know that they're not necessarily particularly vocal about it, but I know that it's there. And I think we need to be providing young people. It's very easy to be negative and sort of catastrophize and say, there's all these problems and isn't it terrible, and you're the next generation. You've it's in your hands to kind of fix.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck. And that's very demotivating for them, I think. And for me, I really want to be providing sort of active hope, but not just blind hope, but actually giving them skills, giving them a route, a sort of a waymarked route and skills and inspiration that small changes can actually have a positive difference. And so I think, we hear from the young people here that, some obviously come and they just enjoy 5 days in nature and having fun activities with their friends. But for others, it has real resonance, and they have said, this is it. I was going to be a doctor, but actually I'm going to go into conservation, and I want to be working in the outdoors, and I see the benefit of, if we don't know about nature and we're not connected with it, then how are we ever going to save it? So it's important work, and I think it's very easy in modern everyday life and society to get caught up in all that and just go along with the flow and be pulled along the capitalist sort of
train
of must buy this, must be marketed at, and all that sort of thing. And it takes a few days for people to be immersed here, and then think, okay, calm and surrounded by that nature. And we've had kids not wanting to go back on the coach, and not wanting their mobile phone back again because they don't like what's at the other end of that coach, or they don't like what's at the other end of the phone.
Yeah.
And so I know we're having a profound effect on many of the children. I wouldn't say all, but many of them. Yeah.
And that is really powerful, because I think I have mentioned this in other episodes, but like the most recent research that someone collated lots of surveys to children about climate anxiety, and one of the really key things was not just that they all had this climate anxiety, but the amount of kids that said, "I just don't trust the adults to do anything." So it's great that you guys are A, doing something, and B, obviously helping them, but like that they can see these adults who care and who are trying to make changes, because that's so important as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things we talked about with the team here, the freelancer team and our own sort of full-time team, is the importance of us as individuals and as a group of people working at the Bioasis, and also the Bioasis as an entity, as a company, about us all being role models.
Yeah.
And I feel really strongly that we have to put ourselves out there, particularly working with young people. We have to be a great role model, and the way we choose what we find important when choosing to work with freelancers is do they have the values? Do they share our values? Do they share our vision? And if we put them in front of 20, 30 young people, are those young people going to look at that person and think, I want to be like that? And that's, I know we talked on the walk in about equity, diversity, inclusion, and the importance and need for both male and female and all races and colours, and the outdoors is a very white, often male-centric industry, and I see that we've got lots of change on that, and we've started work on that, and it's not going to be an easy fix. No. It's going to be a long journey, but
it sounds like you're committed to making the changes.
Absolutely.
And we talked about that, didn't we, about like it's one thing to point out the problem, but then like you kind of need to do the next thing, and it sounds like you guys are, and kind of saying, right, okay, what can we do next?
Yes. And I think being aware of the problem is the first step. So we're at that investigative stage at the moment, and finding out what of all our leaders think, and the issues that they've come across in the industry, and so we can try and learn and be better, and not fall foul of those going into the future.
Brilliant. I was about to move on to the next question, but actually I just wanted to go back a little bit. You mentioned about some kids not wanting their mobile phones back. How does it go for them, like surrendering their phones? Do you get much resistance, or are they all quite happy with it?
I don't know whether they're quite happy with it. Some are more happy than others. Some leave their phones at home. But those that don't, because they might want them on the coach journey down, etc. They will surrender their phones at the vehicle. When they get off the vehicle. And they know about it in advance. It's not something that we're springing them. It's mentioned very clearly in the before they even sign up that we are a mobile-free environment.
Do they talk about the impact of that, or have you had many of them talk about it at the end of the week?
Yeah, it's often one of the greatest things that they say. It was a real revelation, and just wonderful. We had an exception this summer that when England were playing in the Euro final, the school wanted to give the kids a chance to listen to it. And one of the camps had a radio on, and the teachers at that camp decided they were going to sit everybody down who wanted to listen to it and listen to the radio. And another camp said, well, you can have your phones and listen to it or watch it if you wanted to. And so they put out all the phones on the tables, but only about half the phones actually went. And a lot of people were like, I don't really want to.
No.
Actually. And we know that they get back. And actually, the very first trip that we ran here, there was a really interesting bit at the end of it when the group had trekked back out to their vehicle, and the teacher started handing out the phones. And there was 30 odd kids,
Yeah.
and they'd been chatting away like I don't know what on the trek out, journeying it back out to the vehicle, and watching them over a period of about 5 or 10 minutes as these phones came out, the level of chat went from like a buzz and to silence.
So sad.
And they all stopped talking to one another. And you know, the way our society is, we are constantly distracted, and actually having that opportunity, forced opportunity, to sit around a campfire with no phones, or sit around the dinner table with no phones, or on the walks, etc. It creates conversation, and those social skills are really important.
Yeah, really important.
Yeah.
And I guess what you're kind of offering them is like 5 days of like a slower pace, right? Like you talk about that distraction, and actually when we think about how overscheduled a lot of young people are, school and then after school clubs and then this and this and this and homework, and it must be such a change for them to come here and there's just one mission for the week and that's it. Like there's nothing else to think about.
Yeah, so it's comfortable, basic here. We've got composting toilets, we've got hot showers.
I was impressed by the hot showers.
outdoor hot showers. But we don't. I don't know if you noticed, we've not got any mirrors on site.
No, I hadn't actually clocked that. No.
Yeah, and obviously no phones. And so as well as climate anxiety and the disconnect with nature, it's an opportunity to just try and reset. Really, and because it's not just the climate emergency that young kids are worried about. It's screen addiction, it's social anxiety, all of these things which we all know nature is really good at healing and creating a catalyst to sort of address some of these things. And it would be very easy for us to say, you can bring your phone, but I'm quite militant.
Really
about
important.
it, actually.
Do you know the mirrors is a really interesting one because
look at the sorry.
Look at the birds. Starlings? No.
Yeah, one being bird of prey. That's a kestrel, isn't it? Chasing a. Yeah, the kestrel's just flying overhead.
Oh, that's very cool.
Is that a kestrel? No. I'm no good with birds.
I'm not so good with birds. I can tell you about a buzzard and a robin. And
it was a big bird. It was a big bird chasing lots of little birds.
The little birds have gone off that way now. And I was just thinking about the mirrors because on this residential that I was on recently, there was no phones, but the girls were like, where are the mirrors? Where are the mirrors? And actually a lot of the teenage girls I know, I think that might be harder for them than the mobile phone to not be able to look at their appearance. Like that's really powerful.
And they also don't have their phones to look at them.
So they have to ask their mates, does my hair look alright today? That must be amazing for them, like in a world where there's quite a big push on what they look like to just not be able to check for 5 days.
And to accept their peers just as they are.
How they are,
Everybody's got bed hair in the morning. Well, that's just the way it is.
That's just the way it happens. That's what happens when you go to sleep, guys. You mentioned earlier on about the one of your missions, which is the Bioasis Scientific. So it'd be great to hear a bit more about that and what kind of people are getting involved in that provision.
Sure. So that came about from as a suggestion from one of our clients that came to us on the Bioasis 5 mission originally, and they said, we'd love it if you could do this but sort of on science steroids. And so we set about doing everything in a little bit more depth, and so rather than just do a plastic cleanup and putting it all in boxes and having a discussion with our leaders about what they are finding, we get a local ocean plastic NGO coming in and helping with them and giving them a talk on what happens to all the plastic when it's recycled, the sort of the efforts, the wider picture, I suppose. We also have the number of times that we've led it so far, we've had a PhD researcher as main mission leader on it. And bringing in, so we do a number of sort of transects and quadrangle type investigations, so they can design their own scientific hypotheses and do some testing. And then we also have a fungi and sort of specialists come in and talk about fungi networks in woodlands and how they all talk to one another and all that sort of thing. And we also get a talk from the landowner who comes in and around the campfire talks about his vision for the estate, how the estate has to work with the local wildlife trusts and Natural England and sort of the actual logistics as a landowner in the economy of making all those things kind of work together, but working for the benefit of nature as part of the estate. So it's about trying to age-wise, it's ideal for sort of A-level environmental science or A-level biology, but it's about trying to put some of those things that they're learning in school about ecology or biodiversity, but in context of actually the real world and how that then goes into different things.
The PhD researcher, what is their PhD in?
That's a very good question.
Oh, sorry.
I can't remember off the top of my
head. No, that's fine. Obviously something related to the stuff.
Yeah.
Because I'm guessing because you said it's SSSI.
Yeah.
Presumably that means that there are limits to things that people can do on and with the land as well.
Yes,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you would be not surprised to hear that we work very closely with the landowner. And through them with Natural England. A good example is the taking out of invasive species of the rhododendron. So that's the methodology for that is very clear, and as group discussions with local woodland managers and the estate and Natural England about how we're actually going to do that so that we are positive we're having a good effect.
Amazing. That sounds like really. So you've run that a few times now, the scientific one.
And great feedback, and they're coming again next year. I think it's be their third scientific one.
The same
so far it's been the same school.
Okay. They are loving it then. Amazing. What are some of the challenges you face while working with young people here?
So we
because we've painted a beautiful picture, but I'm sure it's not always
sweet and
sunny days and beautiful.
No. Outdoor education's easy when it's nice blue skies and a beautiful environment, isn't it? Yeah. A cold, wet, rainy week in September, may not be quite so easy. I think we get a big range of individuals and types of school in here, from standards state schools in small little towns up to some of the most prestigious independent schools in the country, and usual sort of behavioural issues amongst all of those. I'm a very firm believer that the young people are not the problem. The problem is how adults deal with the young people. And it's often a lack of understanding or a lack of training or something about how one of our staff members handles a situation that either exacerbates or lessens that as a problem. We had a situation this summer where there's some actions by young people on one of the camps that were pretty unacceptable. And Jared, our ops manager, gave them a very stern role model talking to that this was unbecoming of a gentleman, I think was the phrase he used. Activities.
Great phrase.
And he is quite an intimidating chap. Lovely, but he's not a small man. And yet that still didn't sort of work, and so actually we ended up sending a child home, which is the first time at the Bioasis and the first time in 18 years of running STC expeditions that we've ever had to do that. And actually we reflected on it afterwards, and we think we got that wrong. And it was our not misunderstanding of the situation, but mishandling of the situation. Really, we missed an opportunity there to do a better learning experience for that young person than sending them home. And so we've reflected on that and thought, okay, we need to do better on that side of things, because as much as it gave an example, the behaviour in the camp got an awful lot better after that kid was sent home. But as much as it gave an example to everybody else, that young person also missed out on 3 days down here, which we may have had a greater impact on them by keeping them here and managing that in a different way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, learning for us as well.
Learning for us, yeah. Well, I mean, great that you're able to do that kind of reflective work with your staff afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, But yeah. Well, let's flip it and find out about some of the highlights and most memorable kind of experiences of your last 4 years.
I think just there are so many really. Seeing young people's eyes light up when they learn how to carve a butter knife, out of wood, because they've never been given a knife before to work on that sort of thing. When we get the trail cameras in at the end of the week and go through the footage, the excitement of seeing things out there, and we've had stoats and badgers and foxes and deer and all sorts on
amazing.
them. Yeah. That's really great. I think the food for us is quite a big thing. All the food is cooked on each base camp fresh.
Yeah.
And it's good, wholesome, mostly organic food that we're creating and cooking, and inspiring young kids to eat healthily and come back for more. And we get requests long after people have come home or gone home that can I have the recipe for this
really?
dish? Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So I think enthusing young kids about that is
great.
good. And then occasionally you'll get some amazing wildlife sighting.
Yeah.
Like, we've had groups come face to face with a fox on the path into camp, and then occasionally we get young or teachers that have said to us, well, I thought this young person was going to be a bit of a nightmare here because he's a nightmare in class.
Cool,
and they're like, wow, he's completely transformed and is now leading other kids and helping them, and seeing that transformation because we're putting them in a different setting is really rewarding. And then the best part for me is that we'll never really know what they go on and do, but it's going to happen. Absolutely know we've had an impact on people, but I'd love to revisit them in 5-10 years and see. One of the leaders that we have working with us, Amanda, she is a leader in the outdoors because she went on a camp when she was 12-13 and she said, that's what I want to do.
She's now doing the next generation.
That's the impact that we can have. So
this is really powerful. I wonder if there's any way to follow up. Probably not, but it's quite exciting, isn't it, thinking what they all might go to do. Has there been like one particular activity that everyone seems to love much more than anything else, or is it kind of
I think the rhododendron clearing, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's not the answer I thought you were going to say.
Rhododendron clearing and actually I'd say 3.
Okay.
3. Rhododendron clearing, I think once it's been explained to them, obviously, the reasons why we're doing it and the need for it, the physical activity of it and seeing instant results is quite... that instant feedback loop is really good for them.
Yeah, because actually, like, for example, if you're clearing, like, a bramble bush, like, you can see the change really quickly, can't you? So I guess it's the same thing, but on even a bigger scale and less prickly.
The canoeing is always popular. We are in a stunning river estuary here. Salt marshes. We've seen. I don't think the groups have seen it, but some of the staff have seen seals on the river.
Nice.
Otters are around. Kingfishers. It's just a really, particularly because it's tidal, we have to change the time obviously to work with the tides. Going out early morning in the summer with mist over the
really
estuary is really, really special. And this is where I kind of have to pinch myself that we're working on this estate. And I've travelled a lot around the world and been to some amazing places. And yet every time I come here, I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
That is a massive selling point.
And then we also do archery as well.
Okay.
And it's field archery, so rather than just target shooting, it's a bit like a golf course through the woodland. So it's shooting at life-size replicas of animal targets and scoring points as you go through from one sort of one range to the next. And
that is really cool.
As you might imagine, gets competitive
very quickly, yeah.
between the staff and teachers and the students. But so that's
the staff
often popular.
Get involved in all the activities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so certainly teachers we would expect to be throwing themselves into everything.
In the mud with them pulling out the mattresses.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I mean, we've covered so much, but is there anything else about the Bioasis that you've wanted to share that we haven't really shared? Sorry, I made a funny noise because there's a fly that just keeps landing on my lip, but I was trying to make sure I don't eat it.
Just to say, I'm excited about the future, really.
Yeah.
We're still very much a sort of a fledgling startup, and seeing the coming years, seeing that gem of an idea grow and blossom.
Yeah.
And you've pushed the fly onto me.
Yeah,
now.
I know. I'm sorry.
And seeing that grow, and then hopefully, in time, we'll be looking at Bioasis 2.
Yeah, I was just about to say what would be the future goals.
Yeah, so the vision,
the spread,
definitely open more Bioases, and possibly even in Europe as well.
Oh, amazing!
So that's the plan.
Have you got anywhere in particular in Europe that's in your head? I mean, obviously you can't give away secret locations, but a country.
I feel Portugal is kind of calling. There's a lot of rewilding work going on in Portugal, and a lot of space and a lot of amazing nature, and it's a little bit more weather reliable than where we are.
Yeah, that is true.
So,
much warmer,
somewhere a little bit warmer.
They've got like wolves and wild boars in their mountain woods and stuff, haven't they?
Yeah. Talking wild boars, a wild boar was spotted on a trail about 10 miles from where we are.
Oh, really?
Earlier this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really understand how, like, has it escaped from somewhere?
I think it has. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a while ago.
Yeah, and now just living.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And they're obviously very good for nature.
And, are you hoping it comes here?
That'd be great. I think we'd have to redo our risk assessment.
Yes, Are they quite big? They can get,
very big,
and a little bit aggressive.
And aggressive. So
maybe you don't want one.
Maybe
here
we
then.
don't want them. Yeah.
But so hopefully more Bioasis in the future. And for now, more of the same.
More of the same.
Yeah.
Just learning from the seasons that we're doing and putting more in place and hopefully getting some more clients.
Yeah. So if there's teachers or people working at schools listening, they just need to find your website.
Yep.
Start reading about the
bioasis.com.
Brilliant. We'll pop it in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time today, and also
Pleasure.
for the tour of the secret location. It's been such a nice way to spend a morning. So,
yeah.
But before I wrap up, I ask everyone these questions, and the first one always makes me laugh because everyone I talk to is really busy. But how do you relax?
I was away surfing at the weekend.
Oh, nice. Where did you go?
North Devon.
Okay.
The surf wasn't great, but it's better being in the water and catching a few waves. So like surfing. I play squash occasionally.
Okay.
And I also sing in a gospel and soul choir.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
In Exeter.
Yep. In Exeter. Yeah, where I live.
Do you guys do like performances and things?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So we actually got to the BBC Gospel Choir of the Year last year.
Nice.
Yeah, in the finals. And Soul of the City Gospel Choir, we're called. And we sang at Sidmouth International Jazz Festival this summer.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that one. That might be my favourite answer so far. And what are you reading or listening to right now?
Reading, I don't tend to read much fiction. I get a quarterly magazine, which I love, called Delayed Gratification.
Okay.
Which is a sort of a news roundup magazine, once a quarter. And it looks, in hindsight, back at the 3 months, sort of 3 months ago.
Okay.
So the one coming out, say, now would be for, say, April, May, June.
Okay.
And it's a great mix of sort of in-depth articles on news stories that you might sort of have missed. Or, lovely. I've got some excellent infographics as well.
Oh, nice.
Delayed gratification, that's great. And then listen to podcasts as well.
Yeah.
Mostly sort of business related ones.
Okay.
Simon Sinek.
Okay,
And Daryl the CEO. and also How to Fail with Elizabeth Day.
I love How to Fail.
Yeah,
Such a great podcast. Yeah.
And I'm a very firm believer in failure. And we haven't yet introduced it here, but one of the activities that I would like to do, perhaps with corporates when we get those in next year, which we've got in the plan to do, is to set up an activity that will fail.
Okay.
And see how they react to that.
That's such a good idea.
And yeah, because it can never work.
Yeah.
We'll set it up in a way that it will never work.
Yeah.
And so I think failure is an incredibly important part of learning. I don't think it's celebrated enough.
No, I was thinking that when you said about the kid that got sent home and thinking maybe shouldn't have, I thought, well, that's quite, not many people would acknowledge that maybe they'd made the wrong decision. And yeah.
Yeah, I really, there was a school that we worked with on overseas trips a while ago that has a failure week.
Okay.
Which I thought was brilliant for a school. So many schools are intent on celebrating, and rightly so, achievement.
And success,
and this person has got into the GB team for this, or has got a grade 8, but they don't tell people, well, little Johnny, tried for his county trials, but he didn't make it in.
Yeah.
But well done him for trying.
Yeah.
And so I think celebrating failure should be bigger in society.
So what does their failure week look like?
It was about trying new things.
Yeah.
So the teachers would have to be involved as well, and they would say, right, I'm going to try to learn the cello.
Yeah.
And at the end of the week, they would do a school assembly, and they would play the cello in front of the school and celebrate how far they'd got, and maybe how far they hadn't got.
Yeah.
But it was about celebrating the activity of trying.
Yeah.
And recognising that we're not always going to get this right. Yeah.
And I said this to my teenagers, are perfectionists, and I was like, unless you're like a genius, it's really unlikely that you're going to take up a new activity and be able to do it perfectly straight away. Of course you're going to fail and try and get a bit better each time, but it's not. I don't know. I know a lot of young people who are frustrated that they're not good at something straight away, and it's like, but that's not the process. The process is
No, and I think young people do focus on the outcome at the end. But actually, if we as individuals and teaching young people, if we can get them to focus on the journey and so my son plays a lot of squash. It's very good, and but he likes the process of getting better. Yeah. It's not about winning the game. Yeah. It's about, every time he steps on court, is he a little bit better than he was before? Yeah. That's the way we improve and we get better, rather than focusing on the end goal. Yeah,
absolutely. And also, you live in the end goal for such a short period of time. Why would you not enjoy the process more, absolutely. Which is the bulk of it? And finally, sorry, I went off topic again. Why is being outdoors important to you?
It's a reset for me. It's a calm place. I joke that it's very noisy in my head, with all these thoughts of business and ideas and all sorts of things. But I think just being able to just be calm and feel like we're a small thing in a massive world. I think putting everything into perspective really, I think, is important, and makes you realise, we're so fleeting in our time here that you've got to make the use of it and make the most of it. And why would you want to sit inside and watch TV or whatever it might be when you can be out climbing mountains or looking for bugs or canoeing down beautiful places or waking up in a on a beachside camp somewhere. Those are the bits you remember. And of all the time as you go through school, you don't remember your chemistry class, do you? You remember the school trips. You remember that feeling of getting to the summit at dawn and seeing the world kind of light up from the top of that mountain, or that wildlife experience, or meeting those people in a remote tribe in Papua New Guinea or wherever it might be. We kind of have lost some of that, I think, in society, and I think it's important that we get it back. So.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. A very big thank you again to Adrian for taking some time out of his very busy schedule to show me around the Bioasis and have a conversation with me about the work they're doing. I really enjoyed the time that I spent with him, and the work just sounds amazing. In fact, it makes me want to be a teenager again so I can go and join in myself. We hope that you enjoyed listening to that episode as well, and if you did, we'd love it if you would do all the things that mean that other people can find us. If you could rate the podcast, subscribe, share it with your friends, we'd be so grateful. We'll be back in a fortnight with the final episode of Season 5, and until then, thanks for listening.